At 2:17 a.m., the security camera showed nothing. But the footsteps were right behind him. And when he turned around, the hallway was empty. This is the first of 3 true scary stories people swear really happened. Open book emoji. Story 1, The Night Guard. I took the night job because it paid better than anything else I could find. No experience needed. No questions asked. Just sit at a desk, watch the cameras, and make sure nothing breaks. The building was an old storage facility on the edge of town. 3 floors. Long hallways. No windows. During the day, workers came and went. At night, it was only me. On my first shift, the supervisor gave me a short list of rules. Don't leave the desk after midnight. Check every camera every 10 minutes. If you hear footsteps, ignore them. And most important, never open the back hallway door. I laughed and asked if that was some kind of joke. He didn't smile. He just said, "People who get curious don't come back." The first few hours were quiet. Too quiet. The cameras showed empty hallways. No movement. No sound except the hum of the monitors and the ticking clock on the wall. At exactly 1:42 a.m., I heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Coming from somewhere behind me. I froze. I remembered the rule. If you hear footsteps, ignore them. So I did. I stared at the screens and told myself it was just the building settling. Old pipes. Old walls. Anything but what my brain was starting to imagine. The footsteps stopped. For a few minutes, everything was silent again. Then the radio on my desk crackled. I hadn't even known it was on. A voice whispered through the static. "Don't turn around." My blood went cold. I grabbed the radio and tried to respond, but it went dead. Just static again. I checked every camera. Nothing. All empty. At 2:17 a.m., the footsteps returned. Closer this time. Right behind my chair. I could feel it. That feeling when someone is standing too close to you. Even if you don't see them. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. But I didn't. I remembered another rule. Don't leave the desk after midnight. So I stayed. The footsteps stopped. Right behind me. Then I heard breathing. Slow. Wet. Like someone struggling to pull air into their lungs. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely move the mouse. I checked the camera for the hallway behind me. Empty. I checked it again. Still empty. But the breathing was real. Right there. Suddenly, one of the screens flickered. The camera facing the back hallway door. For a split second, I saw it. A tall shape. Too thin. Standing inches from the lens. Its face pressed close to the camera. As if it was looking straight at me through the screen. Then the feed went black. All the other cameras stayed normal. Just that one. Dead. I remembered the last rule. Never open the back hallway door. And I finally understood why. The breathing behind me stopped. I waited. Counted the seconds. 10. 20. 30. Nothing. I slowly turned around. The hallway behind my desk was empty. No one there. No sound. Just darkness. I told myself it was over. That I had imagined everything. Then I looked back at the monitors. The camera for the back hallway was back on. And now, it was showing me. Sitting at my desk. From behind. With something standing right next to me. I don't remember leaving the building. I don't remember grabbing my things. I only remember running into the cold night air, gasping like I'd been underwater. I never went back. The next day, I called the company to quit. They told me no one had worked that shift. That the building had been closed for months. And that there was no supervisor by that name. But I know what I heard. And I know what I saw. Because sometimes, when I close my eyes, I still hear the footsteps. Story 2. Story 2. The last call. I worked night shifts at a small roadside motel on the edge of town. The kind of place people only stop at when they're too tired to keep driving. No nearby houses. No restaurants. Just a long, dark road stretching in both directions. Most nights are painfully quiet. I sit behind the front desk, sipping bad coffee, watching the security cameras and waiting for morning. That night, a storm had rolled in. Rain hammered against the windows, and thunder shook the walls every few minutes. The parking lot lights flickered, casting long shadows across the empty asphalt. At exactly 2:17 a.m., the front desk phone rang. The sound was so sudden it made me jump. I picked it up. "Front desk," I said. For a moment, there was only breathing on the other end. Slow. Uneven. Then a man whispered, "Can you see me?" I frowned and glanced up. The lobby was empty. No guests. No movement. Just the hum of the vending machine. "I'm sorry, who is this?" I asked. "I'm right outside," the man said. "Please. Don't turn around." My heart skipped. The front door was made of glass. From my chair, I had a clear view of the parking lot. There was no one there. "I think you have the wrong number," I said, trying to stay calm. The man chuckled softly. "I can see you. Blue shirt. Name tag crooked. Coffee cup on your right." I looked down. That was exactly how I was sitting. My hands started shaking. "That's not funny," I whispered. "I'm not joking," he said. "You look tired. Long night?" I slowly stood up, keeping my eyes on the glass door. "Where are you calling from?" I asked. "I'm closer than you think," he replied. "But if you turn around, I'll hang up." Every instinct told me not to move. I stared at the reflection in the glass. Behind me was the dark lobby. The hallway leading to the rooms. The open door to the staff area. Nothing moved. "Why are you doing this?" I asked. "I just wanted someone to talk to," the voice said. "It gets lonely here at night." Thunder cracked outside. Then I heard something that made my stomach drop. A soft, wet sound. Like breathing. Right behind me. The phone receiver in my hand suddenly went quiet. No dial tone. No voice. Just silence. Very slowly, I lowered the phone. And that's when I realized I had never hung it up. The line was still open. And the breathing was no longer coming from the phone. It was coming from my left ear. The man whispered, so close I could feel it, "I told you. Don't turn around." I didn't think. I ran. I bolted through the staff door, down the narrow hallway, and out the back exit into the rain. I didn't look behind me. I didn't stop. I jumped into my car and drove until my hands stopped shaking. From the road, I called the police. They arrived within minutes and searched the entire motel. Every room. Every hallway. Every closet. Even the roof. They found nothing. No intruder. No signs of forced entry. No one hiding. One officer went back inside with me to check the front desk phone. "That call you got," he said, scrolling through the log, "it didn't come from outside." My chest tightened. "It came from inside the motel," he continued. "Room 217. I stared at him. Room 217 had been closed for over a year. Water damage. Mold. The door was always locked. The officer went up to check. A few minutes later, he called me on the radio. "The room is empty," he said. "But the phone in here is off the hook." I quit the next morning. I never went back. But sometimes, when I drive past that road late at night, I still see the neon sign flickering through the rain. And I can't stop thinking about one thing. If I wasn't supposed to turn around, what was standing behind me? Story 3, the camera that followed me. I took a temporary job as a night security guard at a closed shopping mall. The place had been abandoned for years. Most stores were empty. Shutters half down. Mannequins still standing in dusty windows like frozen people. My job was simple. Sit in the security room. Watch the cameras. Do one round every hour. The first nights were boring. Nothing moved. No alarms. Just the hum of old lights and the echo of my own footsteps. On the fourth night, something changed. At around 1:40 a.m., I noticed movement on camera 12. It showed the long hallway near the old food court. A shadow passed across the floor. I leaned closer to the monitor. Probably a rat, I muttered. But then I saw it again. This time slower. A tall shape moved just out of the camera's light. I switched to camera 13. The next hallway. Nothing. Camera 11. Empty. Then camera 12 again. The shadow was closer now. Longer. Almost human. I felt a cold knot form in my stomach. I grabbed my flashlight and started my round. The mall was dead silent. Every step echoed. My light swept over closed shops and broken signs. When I reached the food court hallway, it was empty. No movement. No sounds. I told myself it was nothing and went back to the security room. But when I sat down, I froze. On the monitors, every camera now showed the same thing. Me. From behind. Standing in the hallway. My heart started racing. Camera 1 showed me near the entrance. Camera 5 showed me by the stairs. Camera 12 showed me at the food court. All at once. But I was sitting in the chair. I spun around. The room was empty. Slowly, the images changed. On each screen, the version of me turned its head. And looked straight into the camera. Into me. I stood up, backing away from the monitors. "This isn't funny," I whispered. Then one of the screens flickered. Camera 12. The hallway. The figure was no longer me. It was taller. Thinner. Its limbs too long. Its face was blurred, like the camera couldn't focus on it. And then it lifted its hand. And pointed. At the camera. At me. The lights in the room flickered. I grabbed my radio. "Anyone out there?" I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Only static answered. On the screens, the figure began to move. Each camera showed it closer to the security room. Hall by hall. Door by door. Always walking. Never running. I backed up until my shoulders hit the wall. The door to the security room was behind me. Then I heard footsteps. Outside. Slow. Heavy. Matching the rhythm I saw on the screens. The handle on the door slowly turned. I held my breath. But the door didn't open. Instead, all the monitors went black. Every screen. At once. The room fell into darkness. Except for one screen that flickered back on. Camera 3. The inside of the security room. I saw myself standing in the middle of the room. But I wasn't. I was pressed against the wall, watching. The thing on the screen looked at the camera. Then slowly smiled. And stepped forward. The screen went black again. At that moment, the door behind me creaked open. I didn't look. I ran. I burst out of the security room and sprinted down the hallway, my flashlight bouncing wildly. I didn't stop until I reached the exit and threw myself outside into the cold night air. I never went back. The next day, I called the company and quit. A week later, I got a message from my supervisor. He said they'd checked the recordings from that night. Every camera showed empty hallways. Except one. Camera 3. The security room. At 1:47 a.m., the footage showed something standing right behind the chair where I used to sit. Tall. Still. Watching the door. Waiting. Story 4. The The last call on the line. I worked the night shift at a small roadside motel for 3 months. Just me. An old desk. And a phone that almost never rang. The motel sat miles away from the nearest town. No streetlights. Just darkness and the sound of trucks passing far down the highway. The owner told me one thing on my first day. If the phone rings after 2 a.m., don't answer it. Write down the time. That's all. I laughed, thinking it was some kind of joke. He didn't laugh back. The first weeks were quiet. No calls. No guests most nights. Just long hours and bad coffee. Then one night, at exactly 2:17 a.m., the phone rang. The sound was sharp. Loud in the silence. I stared at it. It kept ringing. I remembered the owner's words and slowly wrote down the time on a piece of paper. 2:17 a.m. The ringing stopped. My heart was pounding, but nothing else happened. The next night, it rang again. 2:19 a.m. I wrote it down. The third night. 2:21 a.m. always 2 minutes later. On the fourth night, curiosity got the better of me. When the phone rang at 2:23 a.m., I picked it up. Front desk, I said. For a moment, there was only breathing. Slow. Wet. Then a voice whispered, "You shouldn't have answered." The line went dead. I stood there, staring at the phone. A cold feeling crept through me, but nothing else happened that night. The next evening, I told the owner. His face went pale. "You answered?" he asked quietly. I nodded. He didn't say anything more. Just turned around and walked away. That night, the phone rang again. 2:25 a.m. I didn't answer. But this time, it didn't stop. It kept ringing. 1 minute. 2 minutes. 5. Then I heard something else. Footsteps. Slow steps coming from the hallway behind the desk. I turned around. The hallway was empty. But the footsteps continued. Getting closer. Then they stopped. Right behind me. The phone finally went silent. I spun around. Nothing was there. But when I looked back at the desk, the phone rang again. 2:26 a.m. Against my better judgment, I picked it up. "Why are you still here?" the voice asked. It sounded closer now. Not like it was coming from the phone, but from the room. I just work here," I whispered. There was a pause. Then the voice said, "So did I." The line went dead. I backed away from the desk, my eyes fixed on the dark hallway. Then I heard it. A door opening somewhere in the motel. Slow. Creaking. Another door. And another. As if rooms were opening one by one. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped into the hallway. Every door was closed. All of them. But at the end of the hall, one stood open. Room 12. Dark inside. My radio crackled. Then the phone at the desk rang again. I didn't go back. Instead, I heard the voice behind me. Soft. Right by my ear. Room 12 was mine. I ran. I didn't stop until I reached my car and drove straight home. The next day, I quit. Later, I learned the truth. Years ago, a night clerk disappeared. Last seen walking toward room 12 after answering a call past 2 a.m. They never found his body. Only the phone log. The last entry read. 2:25 a.m. call answered. I never work night shifts anymore. And every time my phone rings late at night, I let it ring. Story 5, the one who knocks at 3:33. I moved into my apartment in early winter. Cheap rent. Quiet building. Exactly what I needed. The landlord only gave me one strange warning. If someone knocks at your door at exactly 3:33 a.m., don't answer. Don't look through the peephole. And whatever you hear, ignore it. I laughed it off. Old buildings always come with old stories. The first weeks passed without anything unusual. Until one night. I woke up to a soft knock. 3 gentle taps. I checked my phone. 3:33 a.m. My stomach tightened. I lay still, listening. Another knock. A little louder. Then a voice. Hello? I think I'm at the wrong door. It sounded like a woman. Cold. Tired. My hand moved toward the bedside lamp. Then I remembered the warning. I froze. The voice continued. Please. It's freezing out here. Another knock. Harder now. My heart was pounding. I wanted to look. Just a quick peek. But something felt wrong. Very wrong. The voice didn't echo. It sounded too close. As if it wasn't standing in the hallway, but inside the door. I stayed silent. Minutes passed. Then the knocking stopped. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next morning, I asked my neighbor about it. His face turned pale. You heard it too? He whispered. He told me the story. Years ago, a woman froze to death in the hallway during a winter blackout. She had knocked on doors for help. No one opened. Now, they say she still tries. Every night at 3:33. But that wasn't the worst part. He leaned closer and said, some people open the door. I asked what happened to them. He shook his head. They didn't die. They just changed. Stopped talking. Moved out. And no one ever heard from them again. That night, I stayed awake. Waiting. 3:33 a.m. knock. 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 This time the voice was different. It sounded like me. Please. Open the door. Tears filled my eyes. It knew my voice. It knew me. I pressed my hands over my ears. The knocking grew louder. Angrier. Then silence. I waited until morning. When I opened my door, there were wet footprints on the floor. Bare feet. Facing inward. Not away. I moved out the same day. But sometimes, when I wake up at night, I still hear knocking. Even though I live in a different city now. And every time I check the clock, it's always 3:33 a.m. Thank you for listening. If this story stayed with you, I'd be grateful for your support. Leave a like if it gave you chills, and share your thoughts in the comments. I read every one. If you enjoy these quiet horror stories, consider subscribing. It really helps this channel grow. Good night, and see you in the next story.